Hi guys, Squally here, and welcome to my first look video of Way of the Hunter. This is a new hunting game. It's not made by Avalanche Studios, people who made Hunter Call of the Wild or the Hunter Classic. It is a completely different game. It's built on the Unreal 4 engine, unlike Hunter Call of the Wild, which is built on a Apex engine. This is Unreal 4, not 5, this is Unreal 4, but I think you can agree it looks pretty decent. The questions are obviously going to be, how does the game stack up to something like Call of the Wild? Well, I've got 26 hours in this game so far. This is a pre-release copy. The game is due out tomorrow, I think. If you do like what you see and you want to pre-order the game or buy it, please check out the video description. There is a link and a discount code there that will get you a hefty discount if you get it pre-release and still get you 10% for the next month. So if you do want to go ahead and buy it, consider having a look at that link and discount code in the video description. So, let's get started on a first look of Way of the Hunter. Now, obviously, there is way too much to show you in a first look video. I'm going to try and give you a high-level overview. I'm going to show you some hunting, show you what the bullet damage is like, how the packs and herds move. I want to start off by taking a look at the graphics. I'm running a 3090 CPU and I'm getting about 136 FPS right now on virtually maxed out settings. Only the foliage is not maxed out. I think you'll agree it is very well done. Like, there's a lot of detail here. The reflections are good. There is rain in the game, there's weather in the game. You do in fact get a forecast here. We'll talk about that later, but you do get a 6-hour forecast going, which shows you what's happening. The rain is nice, not quite as good as Apex, and I think that's true of the graphics in general, that they are very good. They're just not quite the level of Hunter Call of the Wild, particularly like the clouds. Clouds are moving with the wind, though, I will give them that. And the lighting is very good. If you had never seen Apex engine or Call of the Wild, you would say that this was actually superb, and it really is. It's more than good enough. The graphics are, yeah, great. I would give them a 9.5 out of 10, something like that. So let me show you what it's like. If I run over here, this is a rest area. I'm going to switch it into night, and you can see what it's like when the time is different. This is what are we on, early morning, I think. So we'll go over to here to the resting site or the camping site. 15:36 it was actually, so make it late evening, something like that. There is no charge to resting. You can rest whenever you like. However, you can't rest wherever you like. You can only rest at a hunting lodge or a campsite like this. There's no droppable, deployable tents like, say, Call of the Wild. Let's make it nighttime. It does help to go hunting when there's a full moon. It is much brighter when there's a full moon, but even when it's not a full moon, you can see it never really goes completely and utterly dark. And that just gives me a reason to show you something initially, which is what the lighting is like. If you press H for headlights, I guess, H for headlight, then you get this. This is what you get to go around with at night. The animals are not spooked by it, as far as I know. However, if you want to hunt something, obviously there are no NV goggles, nothing like that. If you want to hunt and you're hunting in the dark, it is quite difficult. There is a scope, which is this one here. We'll have a look at scope attachments later. There is this one, which is an NV-like scope. It's the only one in the game, I think, that has this NV capability. But you might want to bring that scope if you go in hunting at night. Well, here we are back at the starter cabin on the first map. There are 2 maps in the game so far. Each of them, well, the DLC maps when they come will be 64 square kilometers. This particular map, which it's actually quite huge, I've worked out is about 110, 120 square kilometers, something like that. It is really far, and the reason I know this is because if I drop a marker down, say just from there to there, that's 7 kilometers right there, just from, so, you know, here to here. So this is about 10 kilometers wide. It's about 12 high. So roughly, it's about 120 square kilometers. This is just the starter map. The other one is a Transylvania map. That's equally as big. And the future DLC maps, I think, will be about 64 square kilometers, so about 8 by 8. Plenty big. Draw distance is very good. Now, I've seen animals at about 600 meters, which is already beyond Hunter Call of the Wild, which I think is about 450-ish. Don't quote me on that. You guys will probably know better. This reportedly goes up to about 800 meters animal visibility, but I've only actually seen it so far on about 550, 600. So bear that in mind. As you can see over there, you do get sort of early morning mist. So it does model kind of precipitation and things. But again, those clouds are not quite as good as Call of the Wild. I want to show you the equipment now. We'll have a quick look around. This is Grandfather's log cabin. There's a whole story mode in this game. There's actually a very well done, very detailed story mode playthrough. Lots of missions that you can do to go across the map. There's many different log cabins and things you can find, campsites and stuff. We'll talk more about that later. I want to show you some action initially. So what we'll do, we'll have a look at the equipment first, and then I'll take you out hunting, and you can see how the whole pack movement is and how you go, how you track animals and how you capture them and what it's like when you do that. So when you're back in the cabin, you'll have a computer like this. This is where you get emails. These are the missions, generally speaking. And then next to it, you'll have your storage area. The storage is your equipment that you have on board. Okay, so the shop contains the things you can buy. The storage is what you're taking out to hunt with. You don't need to worry about ammo so much in this game. The story is your grandfather's lodge is this, and he will supply all the ammo you need. So every time you come back to storage, you instantly replenish your ammo on the equipment that you have on board. Similarly, you have one of these 3 cars that you can drive around in. It's just a different color. Again, it's all built into the game. It's not a DLC or anything. So you go around in this Jeep, speed limited to about 29 miles per hour. If you go to the back of it, it will replenish all of your ammo. So let's have a look in the shop. In the game currently, there are 10 rifles and 3 shotguns. So there's no bows or anything like that. The dev says that it's something they're going to work on, but it's not in the game right now. So you get 3 shotguns. You get a 20-gauge shotgun, which is this one here. This is a semi-automatic 4-mag capacity. We'll talk about hunting tiers shortly, but this is a hunting tier 1 rifle. You then get the 16-gauge break action, so this is a two barrel, and then you get the 12-gauge, which is also break action, and all of them are tier 1 hunting shotguns. You start off with this Grandpa's rifle, which is a tier 4, so pretty decent for things like deer-ish, something like that. You've got other rifles such as this is a 22 caliber hunting tier 2. And then the biggest rifle, which is this one here, the tier 6. This is a 338 Lapua mag rifle. This will take down elks and moose and pretty big stuff at a fair distance. The tier 5, which is the other one that I use, which is this one. This is a tier 5 Remington, which is a 243 Winchester round. This is good for deer, your sort of standard size roe deer, whitetail deer, that kind of thing. Very good rifle. General purpose tier 5. If you go below that, you're looking at smaller game, birds, badgers, that kind of thing. So under the gear shop, you've then got a couple of binoculars you can have. This is the high quality lens with a 10 magnification, and this is the 8 magnification low quality lens. So obviously this is the best one. You've then got a bunch of callers. Everything from elk callers to deer callers, hog, duck, goose, jackrabbit, and moose. Attachments, you've got a couple of sights, the red dot and the carbine sight. So you tend to put these, perhaps if you go in night hunting, I guess, close, short range stuff, badgers maybe, that kind of thing. And then you've got all these different zoom sights. Now, the ones that I just showed you, I showed you initially the 3 to 15 50mm. This is a very wide aperture lens, but this particular one here, which has an 18 magnification, this is the one that zooms in further, but this is the one that has, you can perhaps see a light green tint there. This is the one that has a bit of night vision about it. It's such a wide lens that it lets in a lot of light. So this is the one you want if you're hunting early morning or at night. This is the one that you want on your tier 6 rifle when you're hunting the big game at a long distance, because it has a fantastic zoom. Now, everything that you buy in the game is done with in-game currency here. So top right, it shows you how much money we have. You can see how much things cost. There's also boundary passes that you can buy, again, with in-game money. There is no sense of paying real money to unlock things in this game at the moment. It is all very much driven by in-game currency. So if we have a quick look at the map, These are the kind of boundary areas. You can see these yellow borders. And there are four, on each map, there are four campsites that contain private areas. So this one here, for example, this area here was a private area. I had to buy the pass in order to hunt here. You can go hunting there without the pass, but anything that you shoot or kill, you won't be able to harvest. So you get no money for no XP, nothing that you can stuff, nothing at all. But it doesn't stop you going here, looking around, and even shooting things. You just can't really benefit from it. So for that, you need to spend some money. You need to spend some money at the shop and buy the boundary pass, which is this one here. They're 4,500 each. It really doesn't take long to get these. I mean, if you harvest a decent sized moose, you know, a good one, you're looking at 1,200 just for a moose. You're looking at 500 for a deer. So, you know, go out hunting and you'll be able to unlock all of these passes. So that is a rough overview of the weapons in the game. I think what I want to do now is take you out hunting, and we'll go and hunt some stuff and see what the hunting mechanics is like and the tracking mechanics are like, because this is where it does differ a reasonable amount from Call of the Wild, and I think you'll probably like it. Now, the game has a strong kind of ethical hunting vibe about it, so woven into the campaign story itself is the idea of hunting ethically. It does explain that, you know, you do have to go out and cull animals to increase the health of the general population. And in fact, in this game, quite unique to it, I guess, you can do that. You can go out, and if you find, for example, there's mule deer in this area, if you go out to the mule deer in the area and you see some low genetic, low health kind of males, you can cull them, you can kill them and harvest them, and it will then increase the genetic quality, if that's such a word, and trophy ratings of things in the area. So it is persistent in that sense. Whatever you do, it will affect the population on the map. And similarly, if you go around harvesting all the high genetic stuff, all the high trophy stuff, you'll then cause the population in that area to sort of degrade. So that's kind of cool. But it does have a vibe of ethical hunting, and that basically means hitting the right areas of the target so that you get a quick kill, and also hitting them with the right caliber rounds with the right energy, and we'll see that shortly. First of all, I wanted to mention that under objectives, this is where you sort of get missions. You can see I've done a whole bunch of stuff. So you can ignore this. Like the game after the tutorial literally says you can go out and do whatever you want, right? That's up to you. Or you can play through the campaign, or you can do it first and then, you know, go out adventuring later. It does have a multiplayer, by the way. I haven't tried it because this is pre-release, but it does have co-op on PC up to 4 players, on PlayStation 5 up to 3, and on Xbox up to 2 is what I heard. But I haven't tried it yet. So here's a quest. Look, harvest 5 mule deer bucks with a fitness less than 40%, either adult or mature. So if we press space down here, we can activate that. And this is saying go to this area and look for any sort of low fitness adult or mature males and cull them. Get 5 of them. So we could have a go at doing that. Now, in order to facilitate things, and this is where I want to very quickly show you a slight bug that I found in the pre-release version. In order to facilitate that, we might want to take a caller with us. So we go back to our storage here, and we see that I've got in my callers, I've got the deer grunt caller, which will attract mule deer, whitetail deer, and fallow deer. And if you look, it has 3 different modes of operation. This one will attract females when you put it in doe grunt mode. If you then put it in young buck mode, it will attract low fitness males. Now this is something that we would want. This is like the 2-dot attraction sound. How do we do that? Well, this is where there's a little bit of a bug, because if I actually bring up that caller, not that one, 7, no, 9, key 9, there we go. The deer grunt caller, if I right click, it says doe grunt attracts females, and on the left there, it says change with a mouse wheel. So I'm spinning the mouse wheel and nothing happens, and I've tried it with a controller as well. So currently the pre-release, I can't change the mode to go for young males, or rather unhealthy males, so I can't actually use this to help us out. Now, there are a couple of little bugs, but nothing serious that I've seen so far in this pre-release, and they are talking about a day 1 patch. So in order to do this mission, which is this one here, we need to go and find mule deer bucks. So where do we find mule deer bucks? When you first play the game, obviously this is what I've explored, this is what I've not explored, And all the icons that you see here have been put there because I have gone around the map and found things. So, for example, if I go to that icon that says mule deer, if I press the space key on that, it highlights these need areas. There's a drinking area, a resting area, and an eating area. And what happens is the animals will move between different drinking and feeding and resting areas on the map during the day, following a general pattern. But you have to go and discover these. So, for example, if I come to here and go for that mule deer, I've only discovered an eating area in this area. So what I need to do is walk down the river and look for any sort of drinking areas that might belong to mule deer. When you've discovered 3 or more areas for a particular species, it then fills in the encyclopedia, which is very good, by the way. There's a lot of information in this encyclopedia, but let's just look at animals for now. In the animals, it now tells us what tier they're in. And again, these animals only appear here as you discover them. It will not start with an encyclopedia about every animal. This populates as you explore the map and as you discover need areas. So if we was to look for the mule deer, because I've already discovered 3 or more zones, it gets all the information. This is all the information you get. So it tells you about the mule deer. It tells you what hunting tier they are, so you know what weapon to take. And it tells you the recommended hit energy. Now, we'll discuss that when we shoot something later. But from this, we can see that they generally feed at 5 a.m. They'll go for a drink 9 a.m. They'll have a nap, and then they'll go out feeding at 5, and then they'll go for a drink at 10. So, for example, we might decide, let's go hunting at about 5 p.m. and try and find some in a feeding area. It then gives you a breakdown of the animal weights, the trophy type you're likely to get, and a range of ratings here based on the kind of score that you get. So let's set the time to about 4:30 p.m. or so, nearly 5 p.m., and we'll go to one of the eating areas and see if we can find some deer. So we could perhaps, well, down the road here, there's an eating zone for mule deer. So why don't we just go to 5 p.m. and walk down that valley there and see if we can find ourselves some mule deer. So in order to change the time, you just go to your bed or to the campsite, as we've already seen. Just go to your bed and say what time you want it to be. There is no restriction on this. Let's go with about 5:15, something like that. There's no restriction on this. You do it as many times as you like. And then we'll walk down the map and see if we can find some stuff. Now, I'll just quickly show you the car. I'm not going to take the car because it's very noisy and it will scare any animals away. But whenever you want your car, you just come to the little parking area like that. You activate it, and then it'll just teleport it back here. You can only have one car on the map at any one time. And the good news, by the way, is when you have unlocked equipment, if you go from map to map, you keep all of your equipment. So all of your weapons, all your scopes, everything goes from map to map. It is character dependent, not map dependent. So anyway, I'll have a walk down and see if we can find some stuff. Right, while we're having a little walk here, I want to talk about some things which you do need to know. So first of all, you may notice down the bottom right, there's no information about how noisy I am or how visible I am, like Call of the Wild has that concept. However, you can be noisy, you can be visible, and you do have a scent. And it just doesn't tell you. Like, the only thing that you know is the wind direction, which we can see by spinning around. So that's a headwind right there. And if you look on the map, you'll see this kind of pink trail, which is your scent blowing away from the wind. So our scent is blowing in that direction. However, in terms of noise, you just have to get good, I'm afraid. If you're walking along at a normal pace, this is a normal pace, you'll make, a reasonable amount of noise. If you're sprinting like this, you make quite a bit of noise. The way that you sprint, that you toggle your speed is with the left shift and left control. So wherever your little pinky is, if you tap shift key, you'll sprint. If you just walk like that, you'll get that speed. And if you tap control, you'll walk really slowly. So there are 3 speeds that you can walk at. Similarly, if you press C to crouch, you've got this speed here. And if you tap control, you've got a slow crawl. Now this is great when you're getting really close to animals. So you have 3 speeds at walking, 2 speeds at crouching, and if you hold the C key down, you go prone, and you have 1 speed at crawling. Okay? Obviously, crouching and crawling makes you far less visible and noisy to animals. It doesn't really, and this is a direct criticism of the game. If you go to controls, it doesn't at the moment in this pre-release, and this may change in day one, but it doesn't show you the keyboard mappings in here. Some of them are explained in the Encyclopedia, but there's no way to remap them. The controller option does detail things quite a bit, but again, you can't change them. You get what you're given. But under controls, it took me a while to work out that, you know, H was the headlight and C was to crouch and holding C was to lie down. I had to work all that stuff out. It doesn't really tell me very much. Now, because we're hunting deer, we probably want to, for example, bring up the need zone, and then if we tap bottom right there, it says exploration marker, tap F. That's going to put a marker down, which we can then see, which will then tell us how far away we are. And that's important, because depending on what difficulty you're playing on, the animals will get skittish very quickly if you're on a higher level of difficulty. So I'm playing on Hunter difficulty, which is one away from the top. And if you want to change your difficulty, what you do is you come to exit main menu here and you select territory. Now this is the other map, Transylvania. We'll have a quick look at that later, but the Nez Perce map valley is the one we want. And if down here you press F to change difficulty, and it explains them here. So Explorer is for beginning players. The animals are really dumb, they don't react very much, easy pickings. Adventurer is like something in the middle. It's a good balance between gameplay and real hunting. If you've played Call of the Wild quite a bit, you probably want to go straight into Hunter like I did. This is, you know, the animals are very skittish, and you do need to know what you're doing. Otherwise, they'll run for the hills before you even know they're there. And then Ranger basically removes all the interactions and animal sign identification, which just makes it, you know, one step more difficult, basically. I don't play it on that. I play it on Hunter. I find that's the right mix for me, but, you know, feel free to choose whichever you want. So that's, unfortunately, you can only change difficulty between maps, and you have to come out to the main menu to do it and to change the map itself. So playing on this level of difficulty, I can generally, with deer and stuff, I can probably approach, like, is that one there? No. I can approach, you know, up to about 200 meters with a normal speed walk. And if I see something, I'll begin, you know, crouching. But once you get within 200 meters, you do have to start paying a lot of attention and being really careful, because they will become alerted very quickly. And when they get alerted, they sort of look around, looking for scents, looking for movement. Your visibility and sound does make a big difference. And then you'll need to start sort of crouch walking like this, otherwise they will get spooked. And if they get spooked, they'll run 300, 400, 500 meters away and then settle down again, and you'll have to go and track them. So at the moment, can't see anything here. These need zones are not guaranteed. If you look at a need zone, it'll be like a rare or an often. It doesn't mean they're going to be there every day. It means it's just a chance of them being here. They could quite easily decide on a whim to just go to a different need zone. So you will have to, you know, go looking, basically. That is basic one-on-one hunting right there. Okay, so I'll find some animals, and then we'll carry on. I'll show you how we hunt one. So I've just spotted some deer down here. By the way, these deer stands, there are no deployable objects in the game. You can't put tents down and sleep, and you can't put these down. They're none to buy. They're just on the map, and you just go and find them. That was my original marker there, which I'll now press space key to remove. But I've just spotted some down here. Now, the first thing I do is look at the wind. You know, because if it's blowing from behind, then I'm going to have to relocate, basically. But the wind's in our favour. If you press the Q key, see bottom left, it says Hunter Sense. Press the Q key. You go into Hunter Sense mode. You can see you get this like vignette around the screen, and you see that there out the corner of your eye. You get these little sounds that you can use to locate animals. That one there is a pheasant down there. He's in a calm state, and it's 100 meters away. You'll often get them where you can hear foxes, badgers, sometimes deer, but I can see there's a pack of deer over there. So I'm just going to press X, and that will drop a waypoint down. So I know they're over here. There's probably another feed zone right there. So we're going to start moving in. Now these guys are like 220 meters away, so I've seen some females. I've not yet seen anything else. Now, if you press the Q key, you then turn on your hunter sense again in binocular mode. You can then get more information. Now, this is the stuff, if you're playing on the next level difficulty, you don't get this. This is on hunter mode, hunter difficulty and below, but there's an adult male there. Sorry, an adult female there. There's a whole bunch of females. I can't see the male. There's always a male with them, but I can't see it yet. But we're getting close, so press Q and get rid of that vignette. So I'm going to crouch now. And what I'll do is I'll start closing in. So when I'm closing in, I'm kind of looking at the wind. Is that a problem? No. I'm looking at my visibility. Where am I planning to go to? What kind of angle am I going to take my shot from? You don't want a frontal shot. It can be very tricky, particularly if they're eating. Because the ideal shot is the heart and the lungs. Like, that's really what you're going for. And when we take a shot in a minute and we harvest the animal, you'll see the anatomy. And you really need to look at the anatomy of each animal and study where best to hit it and what angle to hit it from. Because if you're at the wrong angle, you know, its leg will be in the way, its shoulder will be in the way. You're not going to get a clean kill out of it. So we're getting close now. Very, very close. This is well within kill range for our rifle. But I still can't see any male right now. We have got some cover here, but we're kind of losing cover. I'm thinking the male is perhaps over there somewhere. On the left, behind that tree. If indeed there is a male with them. There usually is. They're quite calm at the moment. If I was to stand up and walk, there's a good chance I'd spook them. Like 130 meters is very close. The thing is, if you get too close, the bullet, when it hits them, will actually have too much energy. And what that does is it destroys a lot of meat. And therefore you get paid less in the game, because the way the game kind of translates it is when you kill, you sell the meat to a restaurant, and the more damage you do to it, the less they're going to pay you, right? It also takes into account how quickly the animal was killed, and how cleanly it was killed, how ethically it was killed. I can't see the male. I think what we might have to do, just so I can show you, you know, a kill, is we might have to take one of the females out. Is that the male there? I think he's there. I think that's him. Yeah, there you go. So 1-star trophy male mule deer who just lay down. Now, let's show you something. Oh, there's another noise there. You see that? We need to get this rifle here, which is the tier 5 rifle, and this is the one with the 15 scope on it. So this is the night vision one. It's plenty. If I press the Q key, when I'm looking at this, if I press the Q key, I get more information again after a few seconds. There you go, you see that? So it tells us how far away it is and how much energy the bullet will have when it hits. Now, there's also zeroing, so this is 127 meters away, so I'm going to zero for, you can either do 150 and aim a little bit lower, or do 100 and aim very, very slightly higher. At this distance, the bullet won't drop very much. But that is definitely the male. But you can see that it's a young male. I think this is a young male as well, if I'm honest. No, it's not. This is a female, so the female's in the way now. Notice how the scope leans as you move across. So this is a decent shot right here. If you can get that. If it stands up again. In terms of sway, there is a lot less sway when you're lying down or crouching. You can see the sway here, but when you hold the shift, it will get a slight zoom. He holds his breath and he holds the sway a bit better. So we'll just wait for him to get up, and we'll aim for the heart and lungs and see if we can get a kill. I don't want to get any closer than this. There he goes. Right, so... Now I like to just watch and see what happens. Okay, he's dropped straight away, which probably means a heart kill. Now look at the way the animals scatter. It's pretty well done, the way they scatter and run away. Look at all the noises now with hunter sense turned on. They're all spooked, they're all running away, they're panicking slightly, but they're still moving as a pack. And it is quite interesting when you watch that stuff. I would argue that the way it works is better than Call of the Wild. I think the way they're spooked, the way they run, but stay together, the way they don't glitch, because in Call of the Wild they tend to teleport around and glitch a lot. I think this just handles it better. But what I'll show you now is the way that we track the body, although in this instance there's not really going to be much to track. Incidentally, after you've taken a shot, I recommend you press the X key. When you're in the scope like that and you kill something, just press the X key and put that marker down, and it'll give you a nice waypoint to go to pick up the trail. Now, you don't have a little tablet like Call of the Wild. I found with Call of the Wild, when you start playing the game, it's really, really difficult to track animals, even with the tablet, because you don't have any skills. And we'll talk about skills in a second. With this, you track them all the same. You press the Q key and you start looking around. You see those little gold zones there? So that's a need zone. So first thing I'm going to do is go over to this highlighted area, and this is a need zone. So if I press E to analyze, mule deer eats often, right? So I've just found another eating zone, and on the map now, if I press space key on that, I've now got an eating zone here and an eating zone here. So they're not there, they might be there, which is great. Now, also, when you've got the Q key highlighted, it will show things like this, which looks fresh. So we know that there's been mule deer here recently. You'll also see things like this, which are the tracks. So you can follow mule deer tracks. They're not like Call of the Wild. You won't see loads of them scattered. You'll just see the odd one. It is a lot more difficult to track animals in this than Call of the Wild. You do need a bit more skill and experience. So anyway, what you would normally look for, ignore this need zone. Normally what you'd look for is this. You press E to analyze, and you look at what it says. So it says that the color of blood is pink. That means we didn't hit anything in the gut. If you hit the gut, it'll tend to be a bit green as well. The amount of blood, lots of blood. That means we hit something critical. Air bubbles, that's a sign of it hitting a lung. So if you see air bubbles, you've probably hit a lung. If you've hit a lung, or there's a lot of blood, it's going to die. And then the time to expire is quite quick. In other words, we need to get to the animal fairly quickly to get a good harvest out of it. Now, in this instance, it just staggered forward and dropped. Normally, there would be a trail of blood that we can follow, but we'll have to have a look at that on the next kill. What I want to do now is just claim the animal, and you'll see how cool this is. This is really detailed. So, let me show you what happens. This is a slider. This is the bullet coming in. And this area here, this kind of bronze area, this is the optimum kill energy for the bullet. This is the optimum energy for the bullet for this tier of animal. Now you can see on the right there's a bar that goes up to 10,000 joules of energy. But this is where you want to be. Now if you use a rifle that, say a tier 6 rifle on this, would have come in with something like 5,000 joules of energy, way too powerful, caused a lot of damage. This is where you want to be for optimum damage. So what it then shows you is there's the penetration damage there, 1,300 joules of energy. And when the round initially hits, and this is a bit sniper elite, I think. When the round initially hits, you can see... sorry, that was shot 1. That was from a different... I must have shot this animal previously somewhere. Shot 2 is the one that we want. This is the kill shot here. That's interesting. I must have shot that yesterday. And then it got away. Anyway, this is the shot we want. This is shot 2. This is the round coming in. And the symbols are shown here. So this is the flesh there. So that's it entering the flesh, and you can see where it comes in. Just there. With optimum energy, it then goes and hits the left lung. Yeah, so that's the left lung here. There are 2 lungs. This one here, the left one. The right one is there. This is the penetration damage on the lung. And then this is the cavity damage. So the shock wave that follows the round, because it had good energy, it caused a lot of left lung damage. And then it went on to hit the heart, which is obviously a critical shot. Like, it didn't run because its heart stopped, basically. You can see we just did enormous damage to the heart. And then the bullet actually went on and did a lot of penetration damage to the right lung as well. So that is about as clean a kill as it ever gets. It's a super, super quick kill. But whenever you take a shot and you harvest an animal, study the anatomy. Like, Have a look where the heart is. Have a look where the lungs are. Because if I'm taking a shot from here, if I'm looking at the front of the animal and it's feeding, I can't get a good kill shot. I'm going to have to be I'm going to have to wait till it puts its head up and then get that heart shot. If you come in on an angle like that, even if you miss the heart, if it hits here, I'm going to go through 2 lungs. So I'm going to kill it. So this is a good angle. Likewise, this is a good angle. That and that are good angles to kill from. Never shoot from behind because you'll only ever cause a lot of pain and suffering to the animal. It's not worth doing it. And also pay attention to where the bone is. Because from this angle here, the bone obscures the heart, so it'll lose penetration damage on the way in. But that tells you, a lot of information and what you actually did when you killed the animal. Then you've got the overview, and the overview basically gives you a kill shot summary. So vital organ and artery hit, the time of day, the weather, where you did it, and then what difficulty you was doing it on, the trophy rates and the animal and so on. And then under the hunt tab, it will tell you that this animal was 75.8 kilos in weight. You only lost half a kilo in weight by damage. So if you used a tier 6 rifle, you'd probably use like 20 kilos of meat, and therefore the price of this would come right down. Because we harvested it very quickly, we didn't lose any meat information over time. So if we didn't harvest it for like 10 minutes, we're going to lose a lot of meat, and then the sell value will be lower. You have 2 options. You can either sell it or you can taxidermy it and put it in your hunting lodge. Well, the small antlers on this, it's just not worth it. So we're just going to sell it. We hold the C key down, and that's it. It is sold. And top left, you can see we've done 1 of 5 deer, and the others have scattered off in that direction, so you could go chasing them. But what I want to do now is I want to show you the tier 6 rifle in action, and maybe we'll go hunting, perhaps something a bit bigger up here, perhaps one of these moose, maybe. So yeah, let's do that. Alright, it took a little while, but I managed to track down some moose up here. There's a need zone just over there of feeding early in the morning, and I just saw a moose. There they are. Now, the bad thing is, look at the wind. So these guys are probably going to pick my scent up very shortly, which is a real shame, because that guy looks like he's a 1-star adult male. So what I'll do is I'll sit here and I'll track them and let them get past, hopefully past my scent, and then we can follow up behind them. If they don't spook, that is. But they come down here to feed and drink early in the morning, so that's why I came here. Looking at the scent, it's not a strong wind, so my scent's only blowing to about here, so hopefully they'll track past and we can follow behind. Problem is getting down from here. Now, you do have health. It doesn't show you what your health is, but if you fall too far, you become unconscious and you'll spawn back at your hunting cabin, main cabin on the map, so bear that in mind. And also the animals can and will charge you, but realistically you shouldn't be getting up and close with them anyway. So if you're 200 meters away shooting them, it shouldn't really be a problem. The other thing is we could actually take a shot here at this one of these guys. In fact, you know what, let's do it. The rifle's capable of it, so we'll 0 for 200 like that with the up and down arrow keys. We'll wait for him to stop, and probably going to hit his leg, but it's going to be worth the shot, I think. So he is 213 away. Mark that. And then, oh, there's the bigger guy. That was a much bigger one there. Didn't see you initially, mate. So he's going to go downwind. Yeah, they're completely leaving. But look at the way the animals scatter. Isn't that so good? I think it's really well done. They don't, Call the Wild, they're like, boom, they kind of teleport around. In this, they just behave properly, I find. But that looked like a good, clean kill. We'll go and analyse the kill, and we'll see. I think it's probably a heart shot, but we'll see. Now, when you are exploring, walking around doing this, take the time to just press the Q key and have a look around, see if you can see any more need areas. Indeed, there's some duck over there, so if you happen to bring your shotgun with you, you can also go and hunt some duck. And you can walk in the water up to a certain depth. However, I will say a couple of things at this point. Firstly, it feels like you're too low to me. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm only 4 foot high. It's kind of odd. I don't know if you feel the same, but if I crouch, it feels like my eyes are in my shoulder or something. I just feel a little bit too low. Maybe it's because I'm a tall person. I don't know. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the audio in this game is not the best in water. Like, water can be very, very, very loud. Even when it's only sort of quietly flowing by, it can be way too loud. Equally, when you get near a little lake or something, you can hear ducks and frogs and insects, and they're really overpoweringly loud. And I think that needs to be a little bit fine-tuned, because if you go into settings, there's only a sound effects volume, and that literally affects everything that isn't a voiceover or music. So they need to provide us with more sound mixer settings. And you see how loud that is? It'll keep doing that. And they need to provide us with, I think they just need to adjust and balance some of the sounds. Again, this is pre-release, so maybe this will be fixed, but we shall see. Possibly a day one patch type thing or something that will come in a few weeks' time. But the game is running solidly, even for a pre-release. It hasn't crashed on me. The animals have behaved very solidly. Only once I saw something weird, and that was where an animal disappeared and seemed to be replaced by a floating gun cartridge. But that's only something I've seen once in 26 hours. So if you analyse that, lots of blood, air bubbles, so we definitely hit the lungs. But obviously, because it dropped straight away, most likely we hit the heart. And we didn't, we just hit both lungs. We just did massive damage. So you can see the energy value of for a moose is well above a deer. So this is 3,000 to 5,200 or so. And this round came in with almost 6,000 joules of energy, which is too much. So we've probably caused some damage to the animal, and we'll lose some money, but we'll see. So it came in, it hit the flesh, it then hit a bone, it then hit the lung with an ideal amount of damage. So you can see it caused enormous penetration and some cavity damage. This is where it bled from. I think this is the kill symbol. This is what caused the kill, ultimately. But yeah, he just went straight through the lungs. It almost hit the heart. The shot was just slightly too high. So, the heart on this is it's pretty close to the bottom, so just bear that in mind when you're taking your shot, Study the anatomy, as I've said before. 1-star rating, so we don't get a great deal of money. There's only small antlers on it. The one that ran away would have been would have paid a lot more money. In terms of the hunt, as you can see, because the damage was higher, because the bullet energy was high, we lost some meat there. So 277 kilos, we lost 41 kilos. So the sellable value is 235 at a market price of 2.6 per kilo. Leaves a total of 613. This is not something that we would stuff. If you stuff it, you don't get any money for it. It's just you can put it in your cabin, and if you sell it, it's gone forever. So we hold that down, and that's that one gone. And then the one that got away went that way. So yeah, it does keep a log, if I can remember where it is. It does keep a log of your kills. There it is, under character. So you can go back and look at everything that you've killed and how you killed it. And there you can see a taxidermy in Hollywood. That's one of the mission ones. Taxidermy assistant will tell you what you've got. You can discard things out of here, put things in your lodge. The perk system, let's talk about that. So, unlike Call of the Wild, you don't get XP, you don't get level points and perk points, and then you get to spend them, and it doesn't flow that way. The way this flows is, and I like this, is when you do something, you get better at it. So as I'm walking around in an upright position, once I've traveled 15 kilometers upright, I then make 15% less noise when I'm moving upright, because I get good at it. Equally, when I've traveled 30%, I'm slightly less visible, and then when I've traveled 5 kilometers in a crouching stance, I'm less noisy when I'm crouch walking, and guess what? Less visible, and so on. Same thing with the prone stance. You've got some more stuff over here. Outdoorsman. So sell 15 big game animals, which should not pick up a player's scent, and you're less sensitive to animals. So you can see the way the perk system works is it's based on what you do. So this one here, sell 10 cold animals, 2. Second level calls available. So this is something... Actually, looking at this... maybe... You know when I said to you I thought it was a bug? I've just realised something. You know, like the roe deer caller has different calls on it. So this one here, it has different types of call available. I thought that was a bug, but looking at this, I think second level calls available. I think you have to use the caller, which makes you better at it, and then you will unlock the next level, and the same with that. That's really clever, because I can't just spend perk points and unlock that ability. I have to use the caller and then kill the animal and sell it, and then when I've done 10 of them, I'll be able to use the next caller in the ability of the caller, which is fantastic. This one here, hit a heart, either lung or artery 50 times from a hunting stand. So I've got to do this from a hunting stand, and then I'll get a 30% bonus to sway sentiment. That's really worth doing. So you can see there's a lot of stuff here. I'm never going to get these unless I use the break action shotgun. And they're similar with the lever action stuff. And then obviously we've talked about the inventory. Let's talk quickly about the Encyclopedia. Very, very detailed, as I've said. All the game mechanics are explained here. So if you want to know about player stances, it tells you to go prone by holding C. It just doesn't tell you in any keyboard control. And it tells you here about moving quicker and slower. It tells you about ammo. It explains a lot of stuff in the Encyclopedia. Well worth having a read through. Firearms, again, if you want to look at any of the firearms, it will tell you the information about the gun. And it quite often gives you some real-world information as well, which is quite kind of nice. You can't change ammo into a gun. So when you buy, for example, the Steyr Carbon, it takes 338 lapel mag, and that's the only ammo it will ever take. You can't change ammo on a gun in this game, so you can't swap ammo like you can in Call of the Wild. You know, you can put bird shot or slug shot in your shot. You can't do that in this. None of that, for good or bad. However, it does explain the each ammo type, and it will show you a damage drop-off chart. So you can, you can see like roughly you could kill things with this easily 300 meters, no problem. After 400, it'll start to drop off there. But it gives you a good idea that up to 200 meters, you're going to get almost no drop off on your round. Up to 400 meters, you're going to get almost a 100-meter drop. But you can zero the gun, so it's not a biggie. Gear, explains the gear over here. Again, just gives you more information about it. All the animals, like I said, you have to discover them. This does not automatically appear. Like, for example, I've got the American black bear because I've picked up 1 or 2 need zones, but I've never seen a black bear in the game yet. And I've not seen an elk yet either. And that's because the maps are huge and I've just not explored everything. In terms of characters, these are the characters that you meet when you play through the single-player campaign. And the comics, like, I don't want to spoil it, but these are pretty well done. It's about the story of you as a boy called River and your grandpa looking after you, and this is his lodge, and your dad doesn't want you to go hunting. That's all I'm going to say about it. But that, the story is well worth doing. The maps are big. The downsides, I think, are just the audio at the moment. Like the audio mixing needs some work on it. We need some keyboard bindings. The graphics are fantastic, but not quite as good as Call of the Wild. There's no kind of DLC paywall barrier to anything at the moment in the game. You buy the game, and everything that you see, you can go on hunting. There's nothing that's going to get paywalled. Oh, look, it's going to rain in 4 hours. I might skip time just to show you the rain. 1 second. There you go. So I teleported back to the hunting lodge, skipped time by 4 hours. And, you can see the rain. The cloud transitions are really good. So, it does come in quite gently, and the rain starts quite gently. This is only like light rain. It does go to heavy rain. It doesn't fall on your equipment, so you don't see it. If I hold my gun up like that, it doesn't kind of put drops on it, which is a real shame. Nor does it put drops on the water, but you can see it hitting the ground. I hope you can perhaps see the little droplets appearing there. And it does turn everything kind of moist and shiny. So it's well done. Call of the Wild, I used to love just sitting in the rain and listening to it hit the tents and stuff. But it's just one of the best things ever. It's good. It's just not quite as good as Call of the Wild in that aspect. But as another hunting game, this is right up there. This is so playable. It's so much fun. The animals behave as I would expect them to behave. Um, the kills are fantastic when you get them. It feels like a real achievement, and if you don't get the kill quickly, you can study what you did and get better for the next shot. Limited weapons, 10 rifles and 2 shotguns. You know, would like to see some more variety in that, some more brands. Maybe some more variety in the ammo. Duck hunting, like, let me just quickly show you the shotguns. I haven't showed you the shotguns yet. Duck hunting is interesting. You know, you can kind of just run into a lot of ducks. They all scatter, and then... oh, I can't do it from here. You can't do it from here. You have to go back to your main base and do it. Duck hunting, badger hunting. Early on in the game, the tutorial gets you going out badger hunting and gives you a nice story to follow, and then just says to you, right, you've done the basics. If you want to follow the story, you can. Otherwise, just go and do your own thing. It's entirely up to you. But if I show you quickly in the storage bay, if I change that for the morning silence, and I change that for that, quickly show you what the shotties look like. So this is the semi-automatic, and I've put a red dot on it. So it's a 5-shot, really quick to shoot. So side loading like that from cartridge, and then the second gun is the break action. This is more powerful, so this is for slightly bigger stuff. This will easily take down a goose or a duck, anything like that, up to about 25, 30, 40 meters. But yeah, pretty good stuff. Anyway, that honestly, guys, there's so much more to the game that I could explain. If you fancy buying it, check out the video description. There is a discount code there. If you get it pre-release, you'll save quite a bit of money. The Elite version, 19% off, I think it is. It includes the season pass for the maps coming in the season. And even the base game's 10% off. After release, it will revert to 10% discount on each, which I believe is still cheaper than Steam, so you'll save yourself some money. And it'll help me out a little bit as well. So appreciate the support. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments what you think about the game. If you played Call of the Wild, you know, what your feelings are. I think this is a very playable game. A lot of fun. Just needs a little bit of polish. But, you know, healthy thing to have is competition, right? So having another hunting game means Call of the Wild people might just up their game instead of focusing on fishing games. Who knows? Anyway, that's it from me, guys. Take care. Happy shooting.